This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome to The Drive. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and it is a Thursday, really hot Thursday here in Pittsburgh. And, well, things are heating up over on the south side, too.
I see what you did there.
You know, at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex, the Steelers are getting through another practice today, and it certainly looks or appears as if Justin Fields is going to get the start at quarterback.
That's the feeling, huh? I mean, he's doing all the first-team stuff, just like Coach Tomlin said, and here we go. Yeah, I mean, you were saying off the air, last time he faced the Broncos, it was probably his best game as a pro. That was last year. I mean, it's definitely his best passing game as a pro, and he's got a game under his belt with his new team, with his new offense. It's not a real daunting defense. I expect him to perform pretty well.
No, I do as well, and that game last year for Justin Fields against the Denver Broncos, he threw four touchdown passes.
Yeah.
Four.
No, we'll take that.
I can't remember the last time I saw a Steelers quarterback throw four touchdown passes in one game.
It wasn't a loaded Bears team or anything he was on either. So
no, it certainly was not.
I would take two.
Two would be good.
Two would be a nice advance.
That would be a good way to start.
Yeah.
I mean, this Broncos team, it was defensively challenged last year.
Oh yeah,
in a big way,
especially against the run. I mean, it was really probably was the worst run defense in the whole league. I mean, to kind of sum up their season, I don't know how they won 8 games. I mean, I give Peyton credit. I'm sure he finagled some stuff, some late game heroics or game management. I'd have to really study it. It's not a very good roster. I mean, they gave up a whole yard more per rush attempt than they produced last year.
It's hard to do.
That's hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a ridiculous gap. Every time somebody runs the ball, it's a yard different over the course of a year. That's insane. And they tackle poorly. They're not particularly athletic in the middle of the field. They don't have, great linebackers in terms of range or, playmaking skills or safeties. I do like some of their D linemen. I mean, I think Allen's a good player, and across the board, they're probably underrated in their defensive front, but they're not real big or powerful.
Yeah, they're not a big physical
Right.
team.
And even their edge rushers, they have 3 good ones, but they're not monsters. They're good players, and they've Surtain.
So in that game last year against the Denver Broncos, Justin Fields was 28 of 35.
Okay.
4 touchdowns, 335 passing yards, 1 interception. He also rushed for another 25 yards on 4 carries.
Not bad.
Yeah, you'd take that.
No, you'd take it. Yeah, you'd take half of it probably.
Yeah.
Just efficient passing would be wonderful. Would you say he didn't? There wasn't many incompletions from what I said, like 6 or 7.
That would be 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even if the average depth of target is low, which it was this past week for the Steelers, just moving the ball through the air, throw after throw, would be wonderful. Be a great start. And I do think even if Pickens and he will have a really hard matchup, but if he has a really tough day even with Surtain, I think Freiermuth and Jefferson and those guys should have some separation,
I don't know that Pickens is going to have a quote-unquote really tough day because it's so much harder for the defensive back, especially if you're a down-the-field guy.
Mm-hmm.
A.J. Terrell's good.
A.J. Terrell's real good, yeah.
And Pickens finished with 6 for 85.
Yep. So I do this daily podcast on DK Pittsburgh Sports, and I remember during all the Ayuk stuff and all the wide receiver stuff, and there wasn't much else to talk about.
Yeah.
I kind of laid out where I thought Pickens was in the wide receiver pecking order in the league. And there's so many good receivers. I mean, I think everybody knows that. And at no point since I've done that podcast did I get more negative feedback when I said, I don't think he's a number 1 receiver. I think there's 12 of them on the planet. He has all the ability in the world to get there. He's trending there, but I don't think he's a 1. And I was looking at it like, people were like, well, I mean, anyway. I think he's trending there faster than I thought, though. I mean, just after 1 game, 1 preseason, and the biggest reason why is it's just such a more well-rounded and diverse route tree now. I mean, his last year at Georgia, he hardly did anything.
Yeah.
And then he gets here, and you can blame Matt Canada all you want, but he was not a real developed route runner. He ran a lot of goes. He led the league in go routes. And then his second season, you saw more slants, more traditional stuff. And I think year 3, remember there used to be year 3 breakout receivers?
Oh, yeah.
That used to be a thing. That was a real thing. The way he's being deployed, often out of the slot. I don't know if Surtain will follow him in the slot. I think that's a key to the game.
Yeah.
And just a more diverse route tree. And obviously, he didn't even do any in-breaking stuff over the middle because they weren't throwing there last week, but they will this week.
And much like we talked about on the show, Arthur Smith said today that the reason they didn't have anything over the middle is because they wanted to stay away from those safeties.
They're really good.
Why is that so hard for people to understand?
Right, and they were having success elsewhere.
Yeah.
If they were shutting everything down outside the numbers, well, then maybe you go back to the lion's den a little bit more. But why bother?
No, you're trying to, you know the other team is going to have trouble scoring.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
When it got to that point,
why tempt fate?
Exactly. I mean, how can people look at? Not that people look at the game wrong, but often the best way to look at this game or any game in NFL is how could we lose this thing?
Right.
That's a way you could have lost it.
I think
I mean?
That's one thing Mike Tomlin does
excellent,
better than most coaches.
From what
maybe than anybody else.
Yeah, I think he's like the best in the league at it now. From what I understand, Belichick used to sit down on Mondays or whatever with his staff and identify these are 3 things I think could lose us this game.
Yeah.
Like before they did anything else, before they start game planning, whatever it was, and start from there. Don't go down those roads because that's how I think we could lose this game. And then build your game plan. And I think Tomlin identifies that extremely well.
Yeah, if you're playing the Steelers, well, we got to block T.J. Watt.
Mm-hmm. Don't let him beat us.
We got to stay away from Minkah Fitzpatrick. On defense. So things of that nature.
Like the Falcons are a perfect example.
Yeah,
but let's not go after that pair of safeties.
Right.
For a quarterback that's not super comfortable throwing in the middle of the field, who has a penchant for throwing picks, that's not a game we want to play.
Yeah, there was no reason to do that against that particular team, and you won the game staying away from those guys.
So I think there's another misconception that Arthur Smith only does what he wants to do and square peg round hole thing. I give him all the credit in the world because some of the best things he's done in his coaching career are attacking the middle of the field, attacking safeties, and he just chose not to. You know what I mean? Great. That's what you want to see.
Yeah, I saw a stat actually last night, actually. The Steelers ran 13 or 17 plays out of 13 or 14 personnel in that game on Sunday.
Yeah, I think I sent it to you. It was crazy.
That is the highest rate.
By 1,000. Yeah,
it's the highest rate in the NFL.
Yeah.
In the last 3 seasons.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, that was one that I found.
Okay.
17 plays in 13 or 14 personnel. The 17 plays were the most in the league in the last 3 seasons.
Okay. The one
and Arthur Smith has been coaching.
He's been part of it, right? That's a good point. Yeah, he's actually going against himself on that one, right? I mean, it was far and away the most in week 1. The Chargers were second, and it wasn't even 50% as much.
We'll get to see that next week.
Yeah, true. There'll be a lot of tight ends on the field, probably.
Tight ends running everywhere.
Right. It's another game. It's going to be a kind of grinded out, close to the vest. Yeah.
Yeah, but, I think when you look at this.
But they're going to throw over the middle in this game.
Yeah,
I'm
because
sure they will.
Denver safeties are good.
Like, I think, the whole Pickens-Surtain matchup aside, Freiermuth might be my next best guy to attack.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to avoid the middle of the field with him.
No,
absolutely not. Right.
But in that particular game last week, it just made sense.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I didn't hear that from anybody else. That was just my assumption.
Right.
Watching the game, I'm like, oh, they're staying away from the middle of the field because that's where Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates are at.
And you know what, folks? People stay away from Minkah Fitzpatrick,
too. Right, same thing.
All the time. Cousins, there was 2 or 3 throws. One of the ones, 2 or 3 of them that he just kind of dirted. He went Minkah.
No, don't want to do that.
I don't know what to do now. I'm not just going to. I know I'm not doing that. Right?
Yeah. Because that's what happens. You game
bad
plan.
Stuff happens, right?
And you say, how can we lose this game?
Yeah.
Well, one of the ways you lose the game is if you throw one in the middle of the field and Minkah Fitzpatrick takes it the other way.
Sure. I mean, it's Ed Reed stuff. You know, that's scary stuff. Yeah. People avoided Palomalu too. Right.
Yeah, that's the stuff that Ben Roethlisberger used to talk about. The first thing, what stands out to you about this Baltimore defense? Well, Ed Reed's really good.
He's really good.
I got to stay away from him.
If I put a little too much air under the ball, he's going to get the balls that other free safeties don't.
Right.
And then they take it to the house.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff. Right.
But
there's game-changing players.
In this game,
it's funny to me, like a lot of Steeler fans and even people in the media will recognize when there's a Steeler defender that people fear and is a game changer. But no one else in the league has anybody that's any good to stay away from.
It's the Broderick Jones, Gregory Rousseau conversation.
Exactly. No one else can be
Watt
good.
Wrecks a game like that.
Yes.
It's, did you see all those plays T.J. Watt made? When somebody else does it, it's like, my God, Broderick Jones stinks.
He's the worst.
Yeah.
Right. So if Broderick went against T.J. Watt every snap, it probably wouldn't go great for the young fella,
Yeah, but you're looking at P.J. Locke and Brandon Jones on
guys
the back
I
end
don't really
this
hardly
week.
know much about.
Yeah.
I mean, this week's been a little embarrassing for me in terms of not knowing the opponent's players. I mean, like, there's always 3 or 4 at the bottom of the roster I don't really know much about, 6-round pick or whatever. These are guys that play a lot of snaps, and I keep coming back to it, the lack of pedigree on the defense. I mean, 1 first-round pick and then a bunch of dudes that are below-average athletes, below-average starters. I do like the front.
Is that going to change under Sean Payton? First of all, they didn't have first-round picks.
That's to say the
because
Wilson
of the
trade
Russell
hurt
Wilson
them.
trade,
Right, yeah.
much like Cleveland.
Right.
But secondly, Payton's an offensive guy.
I'm trying to think how the Saints were built. I mean, they had size on defense. I mean, he went out and bought a lot of things his first year.
Yeah.
And then with the Wilson release/dead money, they were kind of dead in the water in
Right.
terms
They
of
didn't
how
have,
to
they didn't
team
have the
build this
ability
year.
to do that, so you have to cut some corners.
Yeah. And he's
They've
been
cut
looking
corners
for
on defense.
He's been looking for receivers for his young quarterback, and Mims hardly plays, and Franklin's not playing at all. So the guys that they've taken cracks at other positions haven't been great either.
Yeah, this is not an uber talented team offensively or defensively. They have some guys.
They do, and they can win games.
And you can lose games to these teams if you play badly, if you make those mistakes that we were just talking about.
You can lose games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know that you're going to get blown away in the trenches or Sutton's going to toast Porter time and time again, but you could lose it. You could easily lose it.
How do you? And so for Mike
Especially
Tomlin,
if it gets late and it's you're tired and they're not, or right.
Mike Tomlin and his coaching staff, the question that they had to ask themselves at the start of the week: how can we best not lose this game?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the reasons also why they're starting Justin Fields in this game, because one of the ways that they could lose this game is with a quarterback who's not at 100%.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say like with a chip on his shoulder against his old team.
But you just saw last week against Seattle, this defense did have 2 safeties.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, Fields will be under some pressure. I mean, eventually it's going to be 3rd and 8.
Yeah.
And those guys are going to be challenges. I mean, there's 3 edge rushers here. They're pretty good. I keep bringing up Zach Allen, too. Zach Allen would be very popular here. I mean, he's a kind of a 3-4 end type guy, but he's versatile, and he's going to give the O-line problems. So you got to stay out of 3rd and longs.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you do, you need, the quarterback mobility.
Yeah, that should be helpful.
But you need to manage the game a little bit, and I think they do that with a lot of pocket mobility again. Well, you can't do that if Russell Wilson is compromised.
True. Very true. I mean, again, Cavs are hard on quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that rollout stuff's not going away.
No, I think that's a base part of this offense.
Yes. And it has been under Smith for a long time. Wilson was really good at
Between
it, too.
that and the play action, where you're also, throwing on the move a little bit.
Yeah, and play action was at a really high rate, too. I mean, the Colts were the only ones that used higher play action stuff. I mean, you're helping the quarterback. You're helping the protection with play action, too. You're freezing guys. Unlike the Falcons, though, if I were to make a list of what do we have to do not to lose this game, I don't know that it's like, man, I have to avoid the safeties, or, man, Bijan's really, really good.
Yeah.
This one, it's more no self-inflicted
Don't
wounds.
turn the ball over.
Yeah. No self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah.
Right.
And the numbers are out there that
They're astronomical for this
when the
team.
Steelers don't turn the ball over, they win.
And the interception numbers are crazy with and without.
Yeah.
The turnover numbers are crazy with and without. It's a big trend.
Yeah.
And the team has not changed enough, despite new quarterbacks and coordinators. They didn't just turn into the Chiefs or Bills.
No, but I think that's what people expected. Well, this offense looks, they're not thrown to the middle of the field again. The offense is exactly the same as it was last year.
Yeah. Did they ever lead the league in 13 personnel on this or play action? I mean, there's 2 tiny examples.
There
where
are layers to
extreme.
everything.
Right.
It's not just if this, then that.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my whole point with this whole thing. Like,
yeah.
Well, just because they didn't do it in this particular game doesn't mean that they won't do it in that one.
That's the thing is, if this was
the
week,
blitz stuff.
It's the blitz.
They didn't blitz last week.
Right.
That doesn't mean they won't blitz this week.
If Nix is terrible at it, or their protection schemes are faulty for a fifth guy, they're going to blitz through that gap or whatever. Right. And what's funny about like the middle of the field stuff, if we saw 7 weeks of them attacking the middle of the field, and then week 8 they didn't, nobody
would say a word.
Right, because the Falcons showed up at week 8 instead of week 1 on the schedule when they made it. You know, no one say a thing. If it happens 4 weeks in a row, I'm going to talk about it.
But I can tell you from what we saw throughout the offseason and then training camp, they didn't ignore the middle of the field at all.
Not at all. A lot of in-breaking routes. I mean, that is something Arthur Smith's done really well. I mean, there's many highlights of like A.J. Brown on a deep dig, hit him off play action. He shrugs off a corner and takes it 80. You know?
The other thing about the whole middle of the field thing that kind of makes me laugh, the last play of the first half.
Okay.
Fields rolls to his left and throws all the way over the middle of the field to hit Pickens on the who ran through the middle of the field.
Yep.
That doesn't count as a middle of the field throw.
It doesn't, even though the ball traveled across all of these both numbers.
The receiver went through the middle of the field and the ball went across the middle of the field, but that doesn't count as a middle of the field throw.
Right. One of the bigger plays of the game.
Yeah.
And one of the
Maybe
best
biggest
plays
ones.
Fields made. I mean, an arm strength throw. I mean, that's why he was a first-round pick.
Yeah.
You know, like not everyone makes that throw.
No, that's not a middle of the field throw.
But it was a risky throw. It's a risky play call, right? I mean, it bucked the trends.
Yeah. Looking at these numbers on
Denver.
Bo Nix.
Oh, on Nix.
I mean,
one's worse than the next. I expect him to be better in his second start.
I do too.
I mean, I don't think he's going to be the worst quarterback in the league every week of his life, of course. And he's at home. But the defense they're facing is tougher, if you're looking from a Denver perspective. But you got to think he's got at least one game under his belt. Peyton's called real plays with him. Man, I shouldn't have put him in that situation. You know, he'll baby him better.
So his intended air yards in that game against Seattle was actually 266 yards.
Yeah.
Geno Smith on the other side of that had 167.
Which is very low.
Which is low.
Yeah,
it's 100 yards less than what Nix had. And yet his yards attempt 3.8 yards per attempt.
Yeah. The deep passing was really poor. He couldn't complete anything
down the field.
Fields' deep passing was excellent.
Yeah.
Nix's deep passing was really horrific.
And
it was almost always to Sutton.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, he's their best player. I mean, he's their best receiver. Not a superstar, but he's their best receiver.
If he does that against the Steelers, Minka Fitzpatrick's going to eat.
I hear what you're saying.
If he just sailing balls down the field willy-nilly.
Chucking it and not chucking them accurately.
Yeah.
Because clearly he threw the ball down the field.
Right.
I mean, he threw the ball many, many times.
Yeah, it wasn't like the whole game plan was just sideways. And
that was the only things that were completed.
Those are the only things that worked.
Right.
And
it wasn't enough.
Worked, when I say worked,
he put it in the hands of his teammates.
But even then, the ball placement wasn't great.
No, I didn't think he did anything.
Threw it sideways, and the ball would be behind the guy, and so
a little after the catch.
Yeah, you couldn't get anything after the catch. They didn't have any receiver in this game have more than 10 yards after the catch.
Doesn't surprise me.
Nobody who caught a ball
had
more than 10 yards after the catch.
Wow.
Which, considering as much sideways stuff as they threw,
right, you would think
somebody broke a tackle and
or even it's a somewhat soft zone on 3rd and 8, and you throw a 3-yard screen-ish type flare pass, and he gets 10 more.
But their guys aren't game breakers. That's the thing. They're not good run after. Their receivers outside of Mims are all big dudes.
Play.
They're all like 6'4", 210-pound guys.
Yeah, right. McLaughlin's like the only one that's like good after the catch.
Yeah,
but I mean, he only plays half the snaps.
And Mims was an afterthought last week.
He's a punt returner. He
played like 12 snaps.
Yeah, he plays less than Calvin Austin.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in the doghouse.
And that was a guy
somewhere.
Peyton drafted. Usually when Peyton drafts you.
He was second-round pick.
Yeah.
He was their first pick that year.
You're like the golden child.
Right. He must be doing a lot wrong.
Yeah.
Because the guys ahead of him aren't great. Peyton handpicked him. They've always, in the Saints offense, they've always had a Devery Henderson
a burner,
speed guy to go along with the Michael Thomas or the Colston or whatever.
Yeah.
They have very defined roles in their receiver.
In this offense, what they have is a bunch of Colstons.
That aren't as good as him, but yes.
Yeah.
Or the Thomas,
and nobody who's
they take the top
beat
off
you over
guy.
the top.
Right. I mean, they always have a wind sprint guy.
Yeah.
That they'll throw him 2 long balls a game, but he runs a 4-2, and he's a straight line player.
If he gets under one, he's going for a score.
Yeah, but he's running down the field and taking the top off and making people honor it and creating room for others.
Yeah. But
apparently Mims can't even do that right now.
Yeah. When you look at what they got out of their running backs,
not much.
18 carries for 50 yards out of McLaughlin and Javonte Williams.
Mm-hmm. And McLaughlin's used more like the starter than the scat back. At least in this game he was.
And he is a scat back.
And he's a scat back type. He's dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, like he's a big play dude. He makes you miss.
185 pounds.
But he's little. Yeah, he's little, and he's not a tackle breaker.
Little guys take big hits.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw this, but the Falcons hardly ran the ball between the tackles against the Steelers. That's partially a Falcon thing. They were doing a lot of outside zone and wide pitches and things like that. But it's also a Cam Hayward thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's just dominating your guards and centers.
When people talk about, Patrick Queen really didn't do anything in this game. What about running everything away from him?
True. I mean, they didn't attack up the middle.
Yeah. If they're not going to attack the middle of the field, you're not going to have a bunch of tackles as the inside linebacker.
Yeah. We had a good conversation in the Wednesday night show last night about, I think how I phrased it was, TJ was so good that I don't think people realized how good the next 2 stars were, or really the next 3, Cam, Minka, Porter.
Cam looked outstanding.
Unbelievable. I mean, as good as he's looked in 5 years type of look.
Yeah. Does that alleviate some of your
all of it
questions?
I just need to see a splash of it. That's all I need to see. I just
He's
see
throwing
that
guys
still,
around. And,
I just need to see that still exists.
Yeah.
It still exists, I'm in. Right. And I immediately thought, what a bargain they got at him. Everyone's like, they paid that old man. He's so good. I'm like, that was a bargain and a half.
That old man's still the biggest bouncer in the bar.
Oh, yeah. And it didn't shock me. I mean, I expected it, but I hadn't seen it since his injury, and that's been almost a year. All I need to see was it once. Boom. I'm out. I'm cool.
Yeah, he's tossing guys around.
Oh, yeah. And Porter's shutting down a really good receiver. Minka's making plays all over the place against the run in particular. But, I mean, your star – and Highsmith was really good too. Your stars were stars. It wasn't just Watt.
Yeah. And those were guys – some of those guys, Highsmith, TJ,
didn't play much.
Cam,
yeah, right.
They didn't play at all in the preseason.
Yeah. I mean, where some teams showed obvious rust that sat their guys, this defense wasn't one of them.
I think defensively, especially if you're a defensive lineman, you can get away with – the rust is not the same as a quarterback or a wide receiver.
And maybe even an offensive lineman.
Running back.
So technique-driven, and I need to know what my buddy's
power
doing
on
next
power.
to me. Right. I mean, Lindstrom didn't play at all. I'm sure he'll have a great season. He's a great player. And look back at week 1 and be like, that was my worst game.
I had a bad matchup.
Right. I had a bad matchup. That was my worst game. I got better.
Mike Tomlin mentioned yesterday that Larry Ogunjobi, for the first time since he's been here, is healthy going into this season.
Wow. I think we overlook that he's always fighting something.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was the reason he was out there when they got him.
I mean, he basically kicked Lindstrom's butt.
He really did.
Yeah.
He was definitely the better player that day.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
And that's not that's saying a lot because Lindstrom's good.
If we're picking up guards, he's one of my top 5.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
he'll get Miners this week, so it's another tough matchup.
Yeah. Very hard matchup.
Yeah, but if he can win that battle like he did against Lindstrom, or at least hold his own, the Steelers win this game going away.
If it's to that degree, especially like was Sunday. Yeah, I urge people just to kind of pay attention to that one, because if Ogunjobi shows up on the stat sheet pretty heavily, that's good work against that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really ascending, now very wealthy guard.
Honestly, if you're looking at matchups, that might be the 2 best ones to open a season within the league.
Yeah.
For a defensive tackle. You get Lindstrom one week and Miners the next. That's
like we're all talking about Pickens gets Terrell and Surtain.
Yeah.
Because it's fantasy relevant.
And you can see it. They're running around on the field.
Guards versus D tackles don't get the same headlines, but it doesn't. I mean, I remember Dan Moore last year, Crosby and Garrett and Bosa, and you notice that. But at Larry O's not going to be like, I just played 2 of the best guards in the league.
Yeah.
Well, he's gonna.
Yeah, absolutely. So if he can hold his own there or win those battles, and I think Keanu Benton should just toss their center around.
Their center's a problem.
Yeah. And he's on the injury report.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's dealing with something.
I don't know what their backup situation is, but it
can't be good.
It can't be good.
Yeah, not at all. So if that's a situation, if that's one that the Steelers can win consistently, and we'll see how much base they're able to stay in. But I mean, if he's
Peyton's, I didn't study it all that much, but Peyton's known for throwing a lot of different formations. He's one of the best guys in the day.
He wants to see what you're going to match up with his guys against.
Yeah, I'm going to throw a lot of substitutions, a lot of different personnel groupings, a lot of formations, and then refer to it later. Yeah, script stuff.
I don't know that I would. I might want to keep my 3-4 out there. Just to all right, because I want the nose. I want somebody on that nose just throwing the center out of the bar.
And the thing is, especially if obviously they studied the Falcons tape to no end, they're going to have somebody that's not Pitts or Bijan. On the Watt help. You know, I mean, for sure. And that kind of limits what you can put out there.
Absolutely. But let's get to a break. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. When we come back, we're supposed to be joined by a special guest. Steelers safety DeShon Elliott expected to join us. He did too.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll talk to him when we come back.
Let's do it
right after this. And we are back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and we're pleased to be joined now on the phone by Steelers strong safety DeShon Elliott. And DeShon, we welcome you to the show. How you doing?
Great to have you.
Have you gotten used to hearing Steelers strong safety DeShon Elliott yet?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of. What do you think? What does it sound like to you? How does that sound to you?
It sounds pretty good to me, especially you keep making plays like you did on Sunday. You can be the strong safety as long as you want.
Hey, I'm gonna make sure I stay healthy. As long as I'm healthy, you'll see plays from me.
DeShon, that first game, you go out there and obviously you've played against the Steelers in the past. In your time with Baltimore and the Lions in Miami, you've seen this. What was it like when you walked out for warm-ups and you look up in the stands and you see all those Steeler fans in Atlanta?
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't realize that they were there until we were actually playing the game with the first quarter of the game. And I think we were on defense and it got kind of loud. And I was like, wait, this is crazy. And then, obviously throughout the game, just like, well, that's really wild how they go out of the way to pay their money, fly and all that to really come wherever it is around the country to support us. We're at practice talking about it today. We're just like, yeah, but it doesn't matter where you go. Just know we're going to have the fans. The fans are going to come with us. So hopefully a lot of them come out to Denver because we're going to need it.
DeShon, I watched the game live on TV and thought, wow, he had a really good game, a lot of impactful plays. But when I went back and watched the All-22, I thought it was even more impressive just singling you out. And what immediately jumped out to me was his film study must have been exceptional this week. Did you feel like you had a really good bead on what the Falcons were trying to do?
Yeah, I would say so. I try my best to watch a lot of tape. That's kind of something that I've always done in my career because of the players I've played with. Like Eric Weddle was one of my vets when I was a rookie. So I kind of like study with him a lot. I really used to follow him around, kind of like how Herbert follows TJ. Just kind of like a big brother thing.
Is Minka a good influence too?
It's a great influence,
I
obviously. Bet. Plus, you can't be in a room with Minka and not try to be better. Like he's very smart. He's a very instinctual player. So I'm trying to do as much as I can to match his abilities. As of right now, I've done it, but the NFL is about being consistent, and consistency that wins championships, and that also at the end of the day gets everybody paid. So,
DeShon, the interception that you had on the pass over the middle, before you even caught the ball, Dante Jackson is celebrating because he knew you had it.
He's pointing the other way already.
He's already pointing the other way and celebrating. He's like, oh, yeah, DeShon's got that one. What's that relationship been like with the two of you coming in here and being kind of the new guys in that starting lineup?
Honestly, it's been great because of like how I know D-Jack. Me and D-Jack came out of school at the same time. We were at the combine together. I've been knowing him for a while. So that, and then also like during training camp, we were in Latrobe, so we had the opportunity to really get to know your teammates. And me and D-Jack were just hanging out one night. And he was like, bro, what if the first game we both go out there, we both ball against the Super Bowl? That'd be crazy. And then it happened. And so after both happened, we were on the sideline. He's like, bro, do you remember what I told you, bro? And I was like, oh, shit. Oh, my God, it did happen. So, it's just really cool. And over time, our relationship has grown, whether it's been in the last couple of weeks or since I've been knowing him since we came out of college. So it's really cool, man. Like, actually, we have a couple guys in my class who ended up being on this team. You know, it's me, Mika as well, and then even now Terrell Edmonds is back, so he's also in there too. We're all in that same class, so it's really cool just to be able to get my first pick, my first game as a Steeler. You know, so that's really cool. And it got me a chance to really show the Steeler fan base like what I'm about and what I can do, what I can bring to the table on a week in, week out basis when I prepare how I should.
That's awesome. And speaking of relationships on the team, how about fellow Longhorn Ryan Watts? You know, I mean, unfortunately, we're not going to see him the rest of the year, but I thought he was really exciting. And what can we expect for him next year when he comes back?
I think Ryan, he was a corner in college, and he's a big corner, 6'3", like 214. So he has the intangibles physically. He has it athletically. It'll be in between the ears, and obviously that can be hard. That transition 1 and 2, he's having to sit out the rest of the season because of his injury. But the thing is that Ryan is a very smart player, and he was catching on safety very well, very fast. So it's very disappointing, and eventually he will get a chance to get back out there and get to it. But we'll miss him. He'll be okay.
DeShon, one of the things that Matt and I talk a lot about on the show is when Joey Porter Jr. is following or shadowing the other team's best receiver from side to side, that changes the jobs or some of the things that you guys, the rest of the back end, has to do in terms of responsibilities. Does it not?
I mean, I wouldn't say it changes anything. It just makes it in a way easier. We know that Joey's gonna go out there and do what Joey does, and Joey, since he stepped on that field, whether it was college or NFL, he's gonna be a shutdown corner. He's gonna get his hands on somebody. So at the end of the day, we just know Joey, do your thing, and we'll play within the scheme around you.
You've played with some really good corners in your career already, in Baltimore and some of the guys you played with,
and Miami,
as well. Where do you see his trajectory? I mean, this is just year 2 for him. He hasn't even started a full season yet.
I've told Joey this. I said, if you are serious about being the greatest corner that Pittsburgh has ever had, then you need to take each day serious, meticulously, and just day in and day out, like get in that book, like study your tape, because he has intangibles. Obviously, 6'3", 205, like. I told him, like, bro, I play with Jalen Ramsey, and you have the size, you have the ability to get your hands on somebody at the line, and you have the ability to really lock guys down. The thing is that you need to start taking each day as if it's your last, and I think that's something that they started to catch on to, and I think that this year will be a great year for him. I think he had a pretty good game the other day, when it came to what his assignment was to do in that game, whether he came down to tackle as a big corner or whether he was covering somebody. So I think he will just grow, and God says the same, we'll all keep our health, and so everything will go exactly how we want it to be. I mean, I kind of have a great trajectory for this, not only the defense, but also for the secondary. I know in the past it probably hasn't been the better of secondaries when it comes to Pittsburgh culture, but I think with the guys we have, the intangibles that we have, the communication that we do, and our camaraderie, I think we can be a great secondary.
In terms of you've also, especially in the preseason, you've been asked to play in the slot a lot. What's that like for? I mean, you're a strong safety. You're a bigger guy. Is that matchup based, or is that just what the team wants to do on that particular play?
Honestly, it's more of like what the team wants to do. I'll line up wherever they want me to line up. Obviously, I've worked my butt off to get in the position for me to be trusted in those circumstances. Really playing in a slot isn't, I mean, it's hard obviously, but if you're a smart player and you study film, it kind of makes it a lot simpler for you, even if you might not be the typical thought process when a team thinks of a slot corner.
Obviously playing single high is like Minka's specialty, not that he can't do other things, but you also seem very comfortable doing that as well. That's kind of a rare thing to be able to do both, right?
Yeah, I would say that, when I first got into the league, I was a strong safety, a box safety, and then something happened with a spot that was open for Baltimore. I ended up starting my last 2 years there, and they wanted me to play free safety. So I was like, all right, that's fine. So I played it there, and over the years, I've been able to like change my body to where I can play both. Because at one point in time, I was kind of heavy. Even when I first got here, I was kind of heavy, but now I'm back down to my normal weight, and I'm feeling great. I'm moving and very fluid and as fast and quick as I've honestly ever probably moved. My body's honestly it's as healthy as it's been since I've got to the NFL. Because, I mean, I had a lot of injuries, if you know, being in the NFL. Out of the last 6 years of my life, I've probably been injured, what was it, four out of the last six? So finally getting fully healthy and knowing how to have a regimen and how to take care of my body the way I should, I think is only up from here. God bless.
Well, as you mentioned in your introductory press conference over at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex, you play a very physical style of football. That's going to lend itself to some of that stuff. But thank God you're healthy now and coming off a great game. Our guest has been DeShon Elliott, Steelers strong safety. DeShon, we appreciate your time here on The Drive, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all.
All right, thanks. That was DeShon Elliott, Steelers strong safety, one of the new players in that secondary this year on that defense. And
immediate impact.
Man, yeah. He and Dante Jackson both picking off a pass in that first game. We'll see if they can carry that over into this next one. Obviously, the Steelers have been one of the better ball-hawking defenses in the league over the last few years. And Minkah Fitzpatrick, a big part of that. Now they've got a strong safety that they can pair with him that looks pretty good doing that too.
Yeah, and our listeners obviously can tell he's very well-spoken, smart young man too. But, again, I think he's a very high football IQ guy. Yeah. You know, he breaks on the ball. He anticipated well. Did his homework, obviously. I mean, he has real good understanding of the position.
Absolutely. We're going to get to another break. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And again, I'd like to thank DeShon Elliott, the Steelers safety, for dropping by there. And
no doubt.
Making Justin work a little bit here.
Yeah.
But, yeah, good stuff from him. And another one of the guys that they've added to that locker room who is a football lover.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious. Yeah, people talk about versatile players. That usually doesn't just happen because you're so gifted you can do a lot of things. It's you studied a lot of different traits. You can be a plumber, you can be an electrician because you love it. You know, I mean, not just because you're born that way or whatever. And I think that's certainly a trait with him. You mentioned the slot stuff. I mentioned the single high stuff. He certainly can do two high.
Being able to do all of that,
it's a nice wrinkle. It's a nice wrinkle.
Minkah can do that stuff,
right?
But we know what kind of rare athlete Minkah is. Mm-hmm. You know, both above and below the neck. Same, I think, a lot of the same attributes here with DeShon Elliott.
Yeah, and he mentioned, I forget exactly how he said it, but something along the lines of, you can't be around Minkah and not want to get better.
Yeah.
You know, like, and you've been in a lot more practices than I have, but that's very apparent just watching Minkah around his teammates. Yeah. And I remember him and Najee 2 training camps ago, 2 Bama guys going at it with the obvious intentions of being competitive like the Bama days and making everybody better, and the standard gets higher around those guys, too. You know?
I don't know if there's a more singularly focused player that I've been around in that Steelers locker room over the last 15 to 20 years than Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Really?
I mean, he is
focused,
business-like 100% of the time. You'll see other guys, and I'm not saying other guys aren't, don't have a business-like approach to things. I don't ever see him joke around.
Like he has a plan, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, it's
2:03 p.m. I'm doing this.
Football.
Yeah.
And, you'll see other guys, they're, joking around or stuff, even, after practice. Minkah is 100% focused on football. This is his job. This is what he does. And I don't ever see anything getting in the way of that. He is just
it's amazing.
Laser focused.
I mean, it certainly shows like up at training camp, because like immediately after practice, he'll go do whatever his plan was for post-practice.
Yeah.
He might grab some
catching
coach
tennis
or trainer,
balls,
right?
Or
somebody's going to help
machine,
him. Like, come on, let's go. You know, and it's exactly. It's very precise. It's not laughing around, joking. I mean, it's
not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I get it. It's a hard job.
It's great, and it sounds like he's a massive influence. Not only, I'm sure, the other safeties, but probably the whole team.
Yeah, and some guys are leaders in what they do in addition to their deeds. I think Minka's he's that guy that leads by example in what he does. I don't see him being a big rah-rah guy.
Yeah.
But, man, he gets the most out of everything he does.
My hunch is, though, he looks at you cross-eyed if you're slacking, too. Because not only does Minka want to be the best safety in the league, the best player he possibly could be, but I think he wants to win. And those Bama guys are pretty used to it.
Yeah. Now, I see an ultra-serious dude there, and sometimes you forget, like, he's only like 27, 28 years old. Like,
loosen up.
Yeah.
But
think about myself when I was that age. I'm like, I wasn't that serious about anything. I'm still not.
Right. Now, but I think Elliott's a great addition to the secondary and helps complete the defense. I've heard a lot of Ryan Clark comparisons as the sidekick to another great safety.
He is that enforcer type guy.
Yeah.
But he's more than that.
He's more than that, right.
Yeah. Like you never saw Ryan Clark go down and cover the slot.
Right. I mean, I think he's a good complement to a great safety.
Yeah.
But I think he would stand alone as a quality player on his own.
Absolutely. I think he has over the course of his career. Yeah, for sure.
No, and he was obviously a priority for them.
Yeah.
It adds a lot to that group.
It really does. And again, it's kind of like the carpet. It brings the whole room together. The dude's carpet. This is a situation where they needed that piece because they were doing it last year, and then Keanu Neal was fine, and KZ was fine out there. But you kind of pigeonholed Minka into something.
Yeah.
What he had to do when he played with those guys.
Sometimes on the same, made up for others.
With Elliott's skill set is similar enough that you can do anything you want with Minka now.
Mm-hmm. You don't always know where he's going to be.
Yeah.
Right. We haven't talked much about this. I know we don't have a ton of time, and I don't think Edmonds is challenging for Elliott's job by any stretch. But what do you think Edmonds' role is here?
I could see some. First of all, I think he's a quality backup.
Yeah.
He's played a lot of football with Minka Fitzpatrick.
I wonder if he challenges KZ for some snaps.
I could see some dime linebacker there.
Yes, he's done that in the past.
He's done that in the past. He's a bigger body guy, can run, and I think special team stuff.
Yeah,
he's done a ton of that in his career. But
I mean, he's always been fast in a straight line and big for a safety. I mean,
too good of a player to be sitting on the couch watching football games.
I think that's just what they thought.
Yeah,
like we know this guy. I can win with this guy. Let's just bring him in and we'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
Like you think he's active this week? I would think.
I think there's a good chance.
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance. And one of the reasons why, again, we mentioned it last week, that a lot of those veteran guys, you don't sign them immediately and have them on your active roster, because after week one, when you sign them, if they're on your roster for week one, you're liable for the contract the rest of the year, no matter what happens, whether you cut them or not. So after week one, you go out and you get some of these guys, these quality guys that were sitting out there. Maybe they're not stars, but they're quality football players. Useful, yeah.
Sure could have used them last year.
Yeah, and you get that because now they get paid week to week, and it doesn't count for the entire season.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. It's somewhat of a loophole, but it's set up on purpose, obviously.
Yeah, right. So why not add a quality body like that?
A
guy who understands and knows the system. There's not a learning curve there. Like if you're bringing somebody else in, it takes them multiple weeks to learn the defense. No, it's Terrell Edmonds. They're playing the same defense they played when he was here.
And I didn't put two and two together that Jackson, Elliott, Edmonds were all at the combine together. They were all doing defensive back drills.
Yeah.
And Minka, all doing defensive back drills together.
So you got all those guys who were in that same prime of their careers, too. So there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, exactly. They're not old, but they're not rookies either. You know?
So, they've been around the block a few times. We're going to get to another break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this.
This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, it's time for the Fantasy Football Focus here to kick off hour number 2. And we'll take a look at the practice reports from today. And then we'll put together a little captain's chair lineup for tonight on DraftKings. Talisi Fuaga with a back injury did not practice today for the New Orleans Saints. I mean,
everyone's raving about how well his first game at left tackle went, and we liked him a lot coming out.
I think that back issue was something he had in college, too.
That sounds familiar. When you said back, I was like, I think that is something that's been around for him.
Yeah. Marshawn Lattimore didn't practice for them either. It doesn't sound good.
No, and they got a much tougher game, obviously, this week, too.
Yeah.
Playing Dallas.
For Denver, Josh Reynolds was back at practice. He's dealing with a little Achilles issue.
I think he was in and out of the game after that.
Devon Vele, though, with the rib injury, did not practice.
Oh, wow. I mean, their receivers are kind of questionable to begin with. We opened the show
He's the
talking.
Slot.
Yeah. I mean, his average up the target was like 4 inches past the line of scrimmage.
Hand you the football.
I wonder if Mims gets more run. We were talking about him earlier. Maybe. I mean, they're kind of running.
He was always on the outside.
Though. Oh, yeah. He wouldn't be in the slot.
Yeah. I don't know who would move into the slot for them. Maybe they move Sutton into the slot to try to get him away from Porter.
Maybe Sutton plays more slot. I mean, he's capable.
Yeah.
But
although Porter has followed receivers into the slot before.
He has. That'll be an interesting alignment stuff.
Yeah. Nico Collins with an illness, limited practice Thursday.
Okay. Usually they don't linger it all the way to Sunday, but, who knows.
Yeah. Damian Pierce with a hamstring, limited Thursday.
Okay. I think Akers was inactive, so Pierce was the true two.
Yeah. And
they ran the ball a lot.
Yeah. Zach Moss dealing with a minor neck injury for Cincinnati.
Yeah, you called it with him. I mean, I thought it was going to be a 50-50 split, but Moss was the guy. Yeah. I mean, that was pretty clear. So that's kind of an important one.
He's more built for it.
Oh, he is. He definitely is.
I mean, I was a big fan of him coming out of college. I couldn't understand why Buffalo didn't use him.
Oh, I think we mocked him to the Steelers a couple times, as a
draft
the
player
pick, right?
a lot. Jameson Williams with the ankle injury, limited again on Thursday for the Lions.
You don't love that for a speed guy.
No.
I mean, he had a really big game. Now he needs to put some consistency together.
Penei Sewell, still a non-participant on Thursday for them as well.
Okay. That's 2 days in a row.
Don't like that.
No.
Christian McCaffrey with the calf and Achilles injury was expected to practice Thursday. It's on the West Coast, so we don't know as of yet. Is it a limited practice? Is it a situation where they just say, you know what? Christian,
really need to rush it. Right.
Yeah, take another week off.
We plan on playing 20 games this year.
Yeah.
I need you for 18 through 20 more than anything.
Yeah, I really think that's a big part of this right now.
I think so, too.
Even after the game, they said, well, if this had been a playoff game, he'd have played.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
And
they like the backup.
I mean, he played Mason's really well. Fine. They're playing the Vikings this week. It's on turf.
Big picture.
Yeah. Do you want him going out there on turf with a calf injury, ending a sore Achilles, and saying, I bet he sits this week?
I bet he does too. And they kind of said that even last week. Like, don't be shocked if it's another week too. Yeah, it makes sense.
Rome Odunze with the knee injury, missed practice again on Thursday.
Don't like seeing that. But
also sitting out was Keenan Allen with that heel issue.
Wow. How does that affect things other than DJ Moore gets a spike?
DJ Moore may see 25 targets.
Maybe Everett.
The heel issue was something that Allen dealt with last year.
That sounds familiar, yeah.
With the Chargers. So I wonder if this is just an old guy.
Yeah.
The thing that does scare me, though, is with the heel, that's awfully close to the Achilles.
No, that's true.
Sometimes, I know.
Older guy.
When I was still playing basketball on a regular basis, I don't do that anymore. But even well into my 30s and early 40s, I was playing basketball 3-4 times a week.
Yeah.
And my heels would get sore because it was my Achilles that was.
Oh, really? Okay.
Sore.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, older guys with Achilles is scary stuff.
I did not want to tear an Achilles.
No, I didn't think he probably
Mark
hung it up.
Cavoli has cornered the market on doing that.
Yeah, he did. He's got that down pat. Keep an eye on Allen. He had a pretty good game, too.
Yeah.
I thought Allen played well.
Jedrick Willis with the knee was upgraded to a limited participant on Thursday for the Browns.
It's progress, but, boy, their tackle situation is
a mess.
Really bad.
They put another guy on IR today.
Did they really?
Yeah, defensive back.
Okay. There's just a lot of them on there now.
They're just falling apart.
Yeah, they're in bad shape. Tackle's a bad place to have multiple injuries.
Yeah,
too,
because there's not a bunch of them sitting on the couch.
Terrell
Edmonds of tackles isn't sitting out there.
They're not out there at all.
Jerry Jeudy, full participant today.
Okay.
For them.
No biggie, but.
Yeah, he's dealing with a knee issue. Myles Garrett, however, with a foot issue.
Okay.
He dealt with that last year. He didn't practice today.
Obviously, they're going to use extreme caution. If there's anything, don't go out there. But, obviously, that would derail their season.
Yeah, they can't afford to not have him.
Right now, they'd be in real bad shape.
They really don't have another premier pass rusher.
No, the other guys are okay, but I mean, they feed off of him.
5 or 6 sack guys at most.
Yeah,
he's the
the straw that stirs the drink, of course.
Darius Slayton with a concussion, limited at practice on Thursday for the Giants. Okay. We'll see if he's able to go full tomorrow. That would be a big step. Gunnar Olszewski with a groin injury. He's out. Mm-hmm. That's not happening. Jordan Addison was not spotted at practice on Thursday for the Vikings. He's got that ankle injury. That doesn't sound good.
No, I don't think he's going to play.
Josh Downs with the Colts was limited at practice on Thursday.
A.D. Mitchell has a chance to be a kind of a sleeper right now. He was open a lot.
He just missed him.
And Richardson's going to
miss
guys.
And that's a Richardson thing.
It just is, right.
Yeah.
But if Downs is out, I mean, I know Pierce made big plays, but keep an eye on Mitchell.
Yeah. Malik Neighbors with a knee issue added to the injury report for the Giants. It's a Giant thing. They can't keep wide receivers healthy.
It's true. And sounds like a couple of their top guys are already banged up.
Yeah. Tyree Wilson with the Raiders, defensive end, did not practice on Thursday. Okay. They play the Ravens this week. That's noteworthy. Marshawn Lloyd for the Packers was limited on Thursday with that hamstring.
I would think you bring him along slow.
I don't think they rush him back for this week.
I did hear good Jordan Love news, though. I guess LaFleur said
he doesn't have to practice to play.
He's not even ruled out for this week.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking for next week or week after.
I think maybe they got their way because they didn't sign somebody.
Yeah.
Maybe they got it out this week and then hope he's ready to go next week.
That's the impression I got, too. Like I was even critical. I'm like, boy, I've been on the phone with Tannehill, but I'm not in the building. I don't know. I mean, if they only think it's 1 week thing, then, you live with it. You probably lose and move on,
T. Higgins, absent from practice on Thursday again for the Bengals. He ain't playing this week.
I don't think he's playing.
Yeah.
They're in trouble.
They really are. They lose this one, they go to 0-2, and we went over those numbers yesterday on what happens when you start 0-2.
I was watching more of their game, and it added up even more and more why they drafted Mims. The right tackle they signed, the Giant Jones, he was bad.
Awful.
Really bad.
The problem is Mims has been hurt.
I know, yeah.
And he didn't have a ton of experience. That was one of the reasons why I didn't love him. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously the talent is there.
Oh, yeah.
He's played like 8 career games in college.
Right. I mean, they might need him sooner than they planned.
Yeah. And that might be an issue. I mean, you're going to be learning on the job.
Oh, you don't want to throw him in.
More so than most rookies.
Right. You don't want to throw him in. Right.
Dalton Schultz with the ankle injury did not practice on Thursday.
Okay. We talked about that a little yesterday, but that's – I mean, the 3 receiver – well, you said Nico missed time too, right? Okay.
So – all of a sudden, the pie gets a little smaller. Fire up Tank Dell.
I'd say Tank Dell's a nice buy low right now, too.
Yeah.
He didn't put up a lot of points, but he's going to be out there. He's a really good player.
Josh Jacobs was limited in practice on Thursday. That's a back issue for him.
He takes a beating. I mean, through this in the stat pack this year, that Najee Harris has 999 touches since he entered the league, which is the most in the league. Yeah. Jacobs is behind him. I mean, he's the second most, but it's like 50 less, but still – he's taken a pounding over the last couple of years.
And that's the thing with Najee Harris. When people say you don't draft a running back in the first round, that kind of stuff matters.
Oh, yeah.
The availability that he shows week after week after week.
Yep. That's why I was kind of comparing him to Jacobs. And knock on wood, you're not getting those
similar
kind of reports on
too.
Najee. Yeah, right. So reliability is a big factor.
Jake Ferguson was seen doing rehab work on Thursday at the Cowboys practice.
Okay.
They didn't rule him out either.
I know. It didn't look good when it happened, but maybe he's fine.
The Jaguars placed Tyson Campbell on IR.
I thought that was the biggest news of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a corner. I'm going to say he's like at the Terrell level. He's not the Surtain level. He's a really good player, and he's clearly their best corner. It was a big drop-off. They gave him big money like a month ago. He was just hitting the prime of his career. Like that's a major loss for them.
Kyler Murray, with a knee injury, showed up on Arizona's.
Okay. I didn't realize there was anything wrong with him.
Yeah. Listed as a full participant, but that's something that bears watching.
Mm-hmm. Especially for his running skills.
And a guy who's coming off a knee. I don't know if it's the same knee that he tore, but definitely worth watching.
It's also a fantasy segment. I mean, how much running is he going to do?
Yeah.
That's part of his value, obviously.
Tyler Lockett limited today for the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay. That could be a Cam Hayward veteran type move,
could be.
But he's also somebody who gets dinged up a fair amount, too.
Yeah. If you got Jackson Smith and Jigba, I know he didn't do much last week, but they didn't need to do much last week.
He's a buy low type guy for me, too. I would love to get Smith and Jigba on my roster.
I've got him.
Do you?
Yeah, you can pry him off of me, maybe. Maybe not. We'll see. Puka Nacua. The news is not good on him.
I think it's going to be a while.
Head coach Sean McVay said this could be like half the season kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't hesitate to put him on IR. I mean, if it's even close that he was going to come off IR, you wouldn't have put him on. Yeah, all the reports out of that is
not good.
He could miss a big stretch.
Yeah.
I think that definitely helps Kupp. I mean, we saw it in action. I mean, Kupp's going to be.
What do you have, 21 targets last week?
Was it that high?
Yeah.
I know it's the highest target share of anybody, but is he like a top 5 receiver right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would think
PPR,
so. Yeah,
he might be number 1.
Yeah. I mean, it's back to that year where he hit the Triple Crown.
Yeah. I have the Steelers injury report here. Russell Wilson listed as a limited participant today. Patrick Queen did not practice. He's dealing with a little bit of a groin.
Okay.
We'll see where that goes. Full participant was Roman Wilson.
Good.
So trending in the right direction there.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's active this week.
Yeah, I wouldn't get your hopes up, folks, that he's out there, starting or anything like that. But the fact that he's out there as a regular participant is great.
Darius Rush was a limited participant again today. Again, that's trending in the right direction.
That's what
they
you
didn't
want.
shut him down after the limited participation yesterday.
That's a concussion, folks, if you missed that.
Yeah. Dan Moore Jr. with the ankle, as we mentioned earlier, a full participant. Isaac Seumalo, however, did not practice.
I'd be shocked if he plays, right? Yeah.
Cam Hayward got the day off, and then also from yesterday, Larry Ogunjobi was limited yesterday with the knee, was a full participant today. I think you give Cam off one day, you give Ogunjobi off the other.
Mm-hmm. That's what you're saying.
That way you're still...
But I think you mentioned earlier, Ogunjobi's health is better than it's been this stage of the season, any way you cut it. Who were we just talking about? I don't know, whatever.
Roman Wilson.
Yeah, I'm not psyched up for this. I don't think he's going to be playing. Oh, Seumalo.
Seumalo, yeah, okay.
Do you think he's probably there for week 3?
I think there's a much better chance that he plays week 3 as opposed to this
I think
week.
that's a good target date.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We'll see if he gets maybe limited on Wednesday and then see how he feels and they build up to that.
And Anderson would go right back at guard, I assume.
Yeah. Matt, it's time to put together a DraftKings lineup for tonight. We're going to do this as a captain's chair. So
I need the rules again. We could take 2 kickers. We could take 2 quarterbacks. Right.
Anybody who's playing in tonight's game.
Okay.
You get a captain's chair, which is 1.5 times the points, but you also pay 1.5 times the salary.
Like Josh Allen or Tyreek's going to be pretty darn expensive.
And then you have 5 flex players that can be anything after that. Could be both defenses, could be whatever.
Okay.
So looking at some of the captain's chairs, Tyreek Hill is 17-4. Josh Allen is 16-5. Devin Achane is 14-4.
Questionable game time.
Questionable.
We can't put him in today.
I think he might play.
I think he's going to play.
Yeah.
In our league, I have him in the lineup. I'm hoping he plays, Shouldn't Allen be more than Tyreek?
Conceivably.
I mean, quarterbacks just score more than
they score
receivers.
more points.
Right.
Tua Tagovailoa is 14-1.
Mm-hmm.
Cook is 13-5.
Not bad.
Waddle is 12-9. Dalton Kincaid is 10-8.
After a really slow week.
Khalil Shakir 9-3. Both the backup all the backup quarterbacks. Then you're looking at Keon Coleman at 8-7. Samuel is 8-1. The kickers, Bass is 7,200 and Sanders is 6,600.
I think there's going to be a lot of points tonight.
I do too. The Bills' defense is 6,000. Ray Davis is 5,400. The Dolphins' defense is 4,500. Jonnu Smith, 4,200.
Yeah, he burned me a little bit.
He burned you a little bit. Dawson Knox on the other side of that is 3,900.
What about the other running backs for Miami?
Well, Jeff Wilson is 3,600.
Okay. And how about the Rook?
He is 3,000.
Because even if Achane plays, somebody else is going to get the bulk of the carries.
I think it's Wilson.
I think it's Wilson.
Yeah.
I do too. I don't know if I'm going to put him in the captain's chair, but I think Wilson's an appealing cheap guy.
He is. For the money, I might put Tua in there at 14-1.
I was thinking about Allen. But
you could still get Allen probably.
Yeah.
Tua's 14-1. He's $2,400 less than Allen.
I'm fine with it.
I mean, Allen's going to run more and probably finishes with more points.
A better fantasy quarterback, there's no doubt. But, I mean, Tua's...
It's either that...
I think they're going to rip him up down the middle of the field.
It's either Tua, Cook, or Waddle, I think, are the best.
Waddle was the other one that caught my attention. I wouldn't mind having Waddle in the lineup, period.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with Tua.
Let's see what it looks like. Let's see what that build looks like. That gives us then $35,900 to spend on the other 5 spots. We can average $10,000 per player the rest of the way with that. Tyreek is 11,600.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Josh Allen is 11,000. You want to plug that in now?
You want to do it? Yeah,
plug that in now.
You don't want to be the team that doesn't have him in the lineup when he has 40 points.
Achane is 9,600. Cook is 9,000. Waddle is 8,600.
I like Waddle in there.
You put Waddle in there at 8,600. That leaves us, we can average 5,400 on our final 3 players here.
You want to put Wilson in to get a cheapie?
Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah. I think he'll be the goal line back.
He is 2,400.
Good. Okay, that bumps up our
average. That gives us now
bit.
we can spend 69.5 on the final 2 players. So we have 13.9 left. The kickers are 4,800 and 4,400.
I was about to ask that question. At least that's a safe.
Yeah.
Would you prefer Miami or Buffalo's kicker if we go down that road? Miami's favored.
Yeah, Miami's favored. Let's see. Let's check and see if there's somebody we want. So Tyreek's still 11.6. That would only leave us with 2,300 to spend. So we'd have to find somebody super cheap.
Super cheap.
Achane is 9,600. So we'd have.
I just worry about him going out in the first quarter or something.
Cook is 9,000.
I would say, what about Cook?
Kincaid is 7,200.
It's not bad.
Think he has a bounce back game?
Yeah,
I do too.
Keon Coleman's the other one I was kind of curious about.
Yeah.
I think Coleman's look good.
Shakir is 6,200. Coleman is 5,800.
What could we get with him?
So if we go that route, that leaves us 8,100, and we could still get Kincaid and have money left over. If we go even cheaper than that, Samuel is 5,400.
I think there's a plan for him. They didn't use him in the preseason. I think they're trying to save him.
You want to plug Sanders in there and see what that leaves us?
Who's Sanders?
Jason Sanders.
Oh, the kicker. Yeah.
That leaves us 9,500. That would actually get us. We could get Cook.
Okay. Cook's appealing.
We're $100 short of getting Achane.
What if we put the other kicker in instead of Sanders?
If we put Bass in, we could get Achane. Or no, Bass is a little bit more. The Bills' defense is 4,000.
I don't need their defense.
Get some sacks.
I would say I think Rousseau and Phillips, though, both had really good week ones.
If we want to go cheap, Dawson Knox or Jonnu Smith isn't bad. Dawson Knox is $2,600.
What's Jonnu?
28.
I think I'd probably rather have Knox. What about like a Ray Davis?
That would leave us 11.3. That would get us anybody. That's almost getting us Tyreek Hill.
What if we do it the opposite way? If we reverse construct it and put Tyreek in and see what riffraff we have to pick from?
Okay, we can do it that way. So Tyreek's in there. That leaves us 2,300, and we could get Johnson. We could actually get Wright.
Who's right? Oh.
He's 2,000.
He might not play at all, or he might be important. I mean, he'd be good at Chan insurance. We have a Chan in the lineup, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's how you win these things.
I mean, if a Chan gets hurt and it doesn't destroy our lineup.
Yeah.
Because Wright would definitely get
We have Jeff Wilson in there as well, so we're going to have basically
3 running. We got the running backs covered. That's not. One of them might be worthless, but that means we get all the running back production from the Miami Dolphins.
We got Waddle and Hill.
Nice. What Bills do we have besides Allen?
Allen. That's it.
I'm fine with that.
All right. Let's do it then. And where's he at there? Wright is 2,000. That leaves us $300 left over. In these kind of contests, I don't care about that. Right. Yeah, this is a NFL Showdown 10K huddle single entry, and we're locking it in.
What did we end up with again? Captain's share was Tua.
Captain's share is Tua.
Allen's our only Bill.
Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Jeff Wilson, and Jalen Wright. We
did not end up with a Chan.
We did not, no.
Okay, because we bumped up to Tyreek.
Yeah.
That makes me feel more comfortable then. I love a Chan, but for a one game, you'd much rather have Tyreek.
Yeah.
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm cool with it.
There we go. So locked in. The great thing is if Waddle or Tyreek go off, we've got 2 in the captain's share.
Right.
We're covered.
I think the back 7 for the Bills is bad.
Troublesome.
Yeah.
Troublesome.
I think it's a real weak area right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Slot corners out. Linebackers, safeties aren't the same at all what they used to be. I don't think the corner's that great to begin with.
Yeah, so that's our lineup. We'll see if it hits. We'll do our regular lineup for the entire weekend. We'll do that tomorrow when we do the Fantasy Football Focus. But we're going to get to another break. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with more right after this.
This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, I was looking at the comments on YouTube before we get into our next thing here. Somebody said that our voices sound alike, and I don't hear that at all.
Oh, I never go back and listen to our show.
I don't either, but
that surprises me, to be honest with you.
He's Matt.
Hello.
That's Matt. I'm Dale.
Yep. I think we sound very distinctly different, but
yeah.
I don't know. What did I say? Go subscribe on YouTube, folks.
Absolutely.
I bet a lot of you listeners have not done that.
Yeah, check it out.
And it's probably happened to you, but people at camp will be like, I always heard your voice and never know what you looked like. I used to get that a lot. You know?
That's a good thing.
Yeah, face for radio over here.
Anyways, speaking of faces for radio, Nick Shook has put together his quarterback index after Week 1's game on NFL.com. Right. Let's take a look at that and see where Justin Fields come in at after his Week 1 performance.
I bet Bo Nix was pretty low.
I'll bet he is too.
Yeah.
And at 32, well, we could have guessed this because he was at 32 last week, Daniel Jones.
I still think he's better than Bryce Young and some of the guys, the young guys.
I saw a thing, a stat that said he has thrown more pick sixes since he signed his big contract than he has touchdown passes to his own team.
Oh.
He's thrown 3 pick sixes since signing that big deal.
Wow. I mean, he does turn. I'm not defending the guy. I mean, but at least he brings something as a runner, and I don't know. I mean, the way Bryce Young played, holy smokes.
Horrendous. And the rookies didn't exactly tear it up either.
No, they were all. Caleb Williams was bad. Nix was bad.
At 31 is Bryce Young, holding steady. He didn't move at all either.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
At 30, down a spot, Bo Nix.
We've talked about it a lot. I mean, the numbers are bad and the tape's just as bad. I mean, now I do think all those guys, well,
they're all going to get better.
They'll get it. I mean, the first assignment is difficult. And I will say that maybe Seattle's defense isn't the best in the league, but that defensive coordinator / head coach
they'll mix things up. It's a Ravens-like attack.
Right. It's not an easy first game.
The second one's not going to be much easier, though.
It'll be worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even like Jaden Daniels got Todd Bowles. I mean, Todd Bowles comes after you.
He's going to blitz.
Yeah. It's a tough assignment.
At 29, down a spot, Caleb Williams.
That's how he played.
He completed 48% of his passes for 93 yards.
Yeah.
Yuck.
So
and with those receivers, that was the one thing everybody was trumpeting about. Well, he's got great receivers.
Right.
Threw for 93 yards.
He's in the best landing spot of any first overall pick ever. So I was listening to our buddy Greg Cosell, and everyone, when this happens to all the transcendent quarterbacks, you give them the benefit of the doubt as prospects, but the reality is Lawrence, Luck, they all needed work in some things. And Greg was talking about how, and I remember him saying it, he's like, everyone blames USC's bad offensive line, but it's him. He holds the ball a long time in the pocket, and the sacks are as much him as his blocking, and that's something. His pocket
as it
presence,
often is.
As it often is,
yeah.
Right? So just pay attention to his pocket presence / ability to read and feel the rush.
At 28, down 3 spots, Deshaun Watson,
and falling like a rock.
He was horrendous last week.
Horrendous. Like, almost should start to have the conversation about benching him now.
Yeah, he averaged 3.8 yards per pass attempt. The only guy who was worse was Bo Nix.
Like, I think Nix, Williams, maybe Young. I'm kind of out on Young, too. Or at least you're probably going to go up the list. I don't know if Watson's going to go back up the list. He may end up being 32 in no time. He may be in Daniel Jones land.
Daniel Jones might get benched. And,
Yeah.
now all of a sudden he's dead last.
Mm-hmm.
At 27, he was unranked last week. Justin Fields. Is that being a little harsh on Justin Fields?
I think he's better than all those guys.
He's better than everybody behind him.
Right.
But I didn't think he played poorly.
No, I don't either. And I'd put him over like Minshew.
Yeah, there's some guys that...
Yeah. He played better than Jalen Daniels.
He managed the game.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see who's directly ahead of him, but I didn't think it was a bad performance.
26, down 4 spots is Will Levis. Justin Fields was better than Will Levis last week, for God's sakes, Nick Shook.
Watch the second half of the Titans.
Oh.
I mean, he was a double agent there for a while.
At 25, up a spot, Gardner Minshew.
I just don't think he's a very good player. Yeah, I mean, like, he didn't kill the Raiders or anything like that, but, I mean, talent-wise, he's not close to most of those dudes.
Turned the ball over twice.
And 2 turnovers. Yeah, I would have him lower.
At 24, down 8 spots, Kirk Cousins.
I guess I don't know exactly how he's doing these lists. Like if Mahomes had a bad game,
you're not going to
we're going to put
Mahomes,
him at 30.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Cousins had a bad game, but I think there's more. Like Burrow was as bad as Cousins. Now I'm not saying Burrow should be listed already.
He also started much higher than Cousins too.
Yeah. I mean, so I don't know how I would do this list. I mean, how much am I weighting one game? But Cousins is concerning because
I think you weight Cousins' performance a little bit differently because he's coming off the injury.
That's why I've lumped him in Burrow. Yeah. Obviously I'd rather Burrow, and I'd rather play against Cousins. But
Burrow's concerning, though.
Oh, yeah.
The way he kept flexing that wrist, and that's not good.
I forget who I was listening to today that I guess there's some footage that he has a hard time using a water bottle by himself.
Trying to pick up the water bottle and it fell out of his hand.
Right. That's not great.
He doesn't have the kung fu grip.
Right. And if this is something that happens all year, what happens in the rain and the snow and when the ball's harder to control?
Yeah, it's trouble. It's troublesome. At 23, holding steady, Jacoby Brissett.
It's a little kind.
Was he better than Justin Fields last week?
Yeah, that's
he threw for 121 yards and had 32 yards rushing.
They didn't ask him to do hardly anything.
No.
I mean, the Patriots win that game with Fields easily instead of Brissett.
At 22,
and I like Brissett.
Up 8 spots, Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, but he didn't play quarterback that well. He made some plays with his legs, especially late in the game. There's something to be said for that. I mean, Fields has a lot of ability as a runner, too. And Daniels' fantasy stock is going crazy, but I don't think he played great quarterback.
No, I don't think so. I mean, he had 3 fumbles.
Yeah, he put
the ball in harm's way.
Got his helmet knocked off a bunch, too.
And I understand Fields had a fumbled snapping center exchange, but took care of the football.
Mm-hmm.
21, up 6 spots, Sam Darnold.
He played really well. He should go up. Yeah. Now, do I think he's going to rip the Niners apart? Probably not.
I think he probably comes back to earth a little bit this week. At 20, up a spot, Anthony Richardson. He did not play well last week.
He completed 9 passes.
Yeah.
And he did
one of them happened to be a long one.
Oh, yeah.
But
I mean, he does some things that nobody else can.
He completed 47% of his passes.
Right. I mean, in terms of quarterbacking, left a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
But there's wow.
Yeah. I don't know about that one. 19, holding steady, Geno Smith.
Started a little slow, as did the Seahawks in general, but then
turned fine. He got better. He won the game.
Yeah, my opinion of him didn't change one bit.
At 18, down 9 spots. You're going to hate this one. Justin Herbert.
That seems a little rough.
He averaged 5.5 yards per attempt.
Yeah. It was a bad offense for sure. I wouldn't have dropped him that far, though.
Well, let's see if you'd have him ahead or behind the guys who are ahead of him here. 17, up 3 spots, Derek Carr.
Played great.
Yeah,
played as well. Him and Baker played as well as any quarterback in the league for week 1.
16, down 9 spots.
Ooh, who's another dropper?
Aaron Rodgers.
I thought he got better as the game went on. The Jets were very underwhelming. I don't think playing the Niners on opening day is
not a great way to start.
We saw this a year ago. He still made some throws.
That's as low as he'll be.
I mean, I thought he got pretty comfortable.
It's probably as low as Herbert ends up being.
Yeah. I mean, those are good football players. The Jets couldn't run the ball, and their defense was really bad.
At 15, up 2 spots, Trevor Lawrence. He didn't play particularly well last week.
No. I mean, he would be like Geno, just maintaining what I thought of him.
57% passing, 162 passing yards. He threw a touchdown pass, but
I mean, they probably should have won if ATN doesn't fumble.
Yeah.
And maybe but that shouldn't change Lawrence, your opinion of Lawrence or what you think of him.
At 14, up 4 spots, Kyler Murray.
I don't know if he's going up, but they scored points.
Yeah.
On the road.
At 13, down 5 spots. This is rough. He didn't play well, but the overall final numbers were okay. Jordan Love.
I was underwhelmed watching Love and Hurts.
Yeah.
Focusing on both.
That was a tough game, though, as well. Flying to Rio, or to, not Rio, but
Brazil.
Brazil.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not like just jumping on a plane and flying.
No. I really think it's I'm going to take 2 seconds here. I understand why the NFL does it for 2 reasons.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of money. And first of all,
you're trying to grow
your brand. Yeah. And, a lot of people went to the game and it's different. But the field surface was so bad.
It was bad.
Like, that makes me insane. This is the NFL. They should never have subpar conditions for anything, period. And it's a weird game. It's a hard one to judge. I think you're 100% right.
At 12, down 2 spots with the guy he played against, Jalen Hurts.
Okay. I think Love's the better player, but I think Hurts was better that night.
Yeah. He did have 2 interceptions and two fumbles as well, though. So keep an eye on that.
Barkley ran through some holes that we could drive a truck through, too.
At 11, down 6 spots, Joe Burrow.
I think you have to drop him more. I mean, he was a below average starter in one game. Now, I think he's awesome.
Yeah.
But his is injury related too. It's
right. And they put 10 points on the board.
I mean, if you're
at home,
I'm thinking about other good quarterbacks. If you're going to ding Rodgers as hard as you did, if you're going to ding Herbert as hard as you did, why not him too?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
think that's fair.
I mean, he started higher than those guys, though.
Yeah, but not way higher than Herbert.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 or 5 spots, probably.
Yeah. They dropped him 6. We'll see. If he plays badly again this week,
a lot of these are him and Cousins. If they do it again, it's like, ooh,
now it's concerning. Now it's really concerning. At 10, up 1 spot, Jared Goff.
That's who he is.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a solid player.
At 9, up 5 spots, Matthew Stafford.
I was super impressed. I mean,
we thought they were too low, or Shook was too low on him going into last week. I mean, he was at 14 last week.
Yo, I forgot about that. Yeah, I think Stafford's the best quarterback in the NFC, and they stayed in that game without being able to block anybody.
Yeah,
that's. I'm not sure most quarterbacks hang around.
And with Nakua leaving, and
right.
At 8, up 5 spots, Brock Purdy. Come on.
I don't know if he should go up. I mean, maybe that's a factor of a couple people going down that were ahead of him. Played well.
He threw for 231 yards and rushed for 11 and had no touchdown passes or didn't like.
Yeah.
He played fine. I'm not saying
right.
He's not the 8th best quarterback in the league.
Agreed.
He's not better than Stafford.
No.
That's
And
crazy.
Again, my opinion of him didn't change one bit because of that game.
Right.
It wasn't like, boy, he's terrible now, or boy, he's so much better.
Right. He is what he is.
He was fine.
He's fine.
Yeah. Jets D was bad.
Jets D played poorly. At 7, up 5 spots, Tua Tagovailoa.
I don't think that's who he is, but it is an overreaction type of article. You know what I mean? And I'm not sure if Nick was sitting here, he'd say, I think Tua's the 6th or 7th best quarterback on the planet.
I think Tua and Purdy,
they're very similar.
very similar.
I actually think Purdy's the better player because Purdy to me is much more aggressive when play breaks down than like a Garoppolo.
And he can play off script.
He can play off
and,
script.
yeah.
I don't think Tua can. They both are paint by numbers guys. But once in a while, Purdy does something outside the paint by numbers that's pretty.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that separates him from the Garappolos that Shanahan's had.
At 6, up 9 spots. So this guy would be the biggest riser of the week.
It has to be Baker, right?
Baker Mayfield.
We haven't talked about him yet.
Baker Mayfield.
Of course, he's not the 6th best quarterback.
No.
I mean, is he better than Burrow or Herbert or Stafford? Of course not. He had a great game.
This says to me more about the Washington defense.
Oh, might be the worst.
Like Daniel Jones, as bad as he was in week 1, might have a really good game this week.
When we put a DFS lineup, I might put a strong case in for Daniel Jones.
He's actually played well against Washington.
Everyone is going to play well against Washington this year. Their backs, I mean, except for defensive tackle, I don't think there's anybody on their defense the Steelers would even want.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying they wouldn't make the team, but I mean, it's a hideous unit.
Awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
So Mayfield does not deserve to go that high. But
no.
I like that him and Carr and those guys got credit for playing really well.
At 5, up a spot, Dak Prescott. He didn't play great.
No, he didn't.
But Cleveland's a tough.
Yeah.
Cleveland's a tough assignment.
Sure.
They blew him out.
I mean, he wasn't much different than Hurts or Love or.
Yeah. At 4, holding steady, C.J. Stroud.
I thought he was really good in this game too. Not that I thought he was going to turn into a pumpkin or anything, but he's a star.
He's the real deal.
Yeah.
At 3, holding steady, Josh Allen.
Fine with that. I thought he was superb.
At 2, holding steady, Lamar Jackson, and that means Patrick Mahomes is number 1.
Okay. I have no qualms at the top. I thought Lamar had nothing going for him in terms of blocking.
Yeah.
And if you put some of those other dudes in that situation, it wouldn't have gone as well.
They would have fallen apart.
They would have fallen apart. I mean, his legs bailed them out and kept them competitive.
That's what makes him.
That's a superpower.
Yeah, that's his superpower, and that's the one thing. He has that trump card.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen has that trump card.
Yep. I mean, there aren't many, but boy, they're superhero. So this is a total side note, but we're talking quarterbacks, and I was listening to our buddy Sando, and he does a lot of these kind of studies, and they were asking him about quarterback play in the league, and he said last year opening day was the youngest group of starting quarterbacks the NFL has ever seen. And this year's like second youngest.
Yeah.
Because they're all 1 year older.
Right.
And you throw some rookies in there. And it helps that Brady retired because he messes up the curve for everybody.
He blows the curve out. But Rodgers is there. So
there's another old. Yeah, there's a couple old guys still. But I hadn't thought of that. But, I mean, the quarterback situation in the league right now, if you look over the last 50 years, is really the youngest it's ever been.
Yeah.
And what's odd is
we've talked about that in the past, though, because there's all the young guys. There's not really a middle ground anymore.
There's a real shortage of the Wentz,
like
Mariota.
Dak Prescott's is the middle ground right now, and there's really nobody.
Like 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah,
right. And not to mention the whole Ben group retired. The guys that are Breeze, Ben, Rivers, Ryan, let alone Brady, and those guys. I mean, a big group of old dudes retired recently. But it's funny, like if you go to drafthistory.com and pull up all the quarterbacks, there's like 5 or 6 years that just miss after miss, at the top. Winston and Mariota and Wentz and on and on and on. I mean, so there's a lot of old and young, and the old are evaporating pretty quick.
Yeah, but teams will keep trying, taking that swing because you have to.
And what's interesting to me, too, which is relevant for this week, you got some old rookies now, too.
Yeah.
If Penix ever gets in there, old rookie. Nix,
old
rookie.
Bo Nix is an old Bo Nix started 61 games in college.
Yeah,
that broke the record. I think Kenny Pickett was Kenny Pickett.
I don't know who held the record, but
Pickett was up there. But
he was really high up
Nix is 61 starts in college.
Old rookies. Yeah. So, but that's the state of the quarterback position right now.
Absolutely. Let's get to a break. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. That was Nick Shook's Quarterback Index on NFL.com. You can check that out there. You can also continue listening to the show because Matt and I will be back with more right after this.
This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, except no imitations. And Matt, we have the Broncos injury report here as well.
Oh, good.
These things trickle in when you're playing a team.
Yeah, the West Coast teams screw everybody up.
Not wet. They're mountain time.
They're on the other side of the Mississippi. They're west. And they're in the AFC West. That's how my brain works.
Are they technically on this side of the Rocky Mountains, or I guess they would be considered in the Rocky Mountains?
They're right in the heart of it, aren't they?
Yeah. But when you're out
I've never been there.
When you're out there, it's a beautiful city. You can see the Rocky Mountains like they're on a plateau kind of plain, and you look out and you can see the mountains in the background.
I've heard.
Off in the distance to the west.
I've never been out there, period. And like bringing up to my kids, my daughter always wants to go to the beach, and she's like, I don't want to go see a bunch of rocks. I'm like, it's better than that.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful city.
Yeah.
But so for the Broncos, Devon Vele, as we mentioned, 2 days in a row did not practice.
Okay. I didn't realize that after their game.
Yeah.
And not that he's a great player, but he's played
starter.
a lot of snaps and he's a slot receiver.
He's got that rib issue, so we'll see how that comes along. These guys didn't practice yesterday, but were limited today. That was Garrett Bowles, their left tackle.
That was the one I was concerned about after the game.
Yeah, he's got a calf issue. The center, Luke Wattenberg, he was limited today with an ankle, but if he's banged up a little bit, man, he is not a great player to begin with.
No, he's first-year starter and questionable starter.
And then Josh Reynolds with the Achilles was limited today for them, the wide receiver.
Okay, so it's O-line and receivers.
Yeah.
Which
exactly what they don't have.
Yeah, right. I don't think you want O-line injuries against Steelers either.
And then outside linebacker Jonah Ellis, who was limited yesterday, was a full participant today.
Oh, okay. I think he was their second-round pick. I mean, they took Nix in the first round, took him in the second. He's a little different than their other edge guys. Kind of a power player. He's like 270.
Yeah. So we'll see if he's able to go, but
it's not too extensive.
Yeah, it's not a long injury list, but there's some important guys there.
I mean, Bowles is important.
Bowles is the one to keep an eye on.
No doubt. I mean, he's going to have Highsmith one-on-one a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
So if that happens, if they have to help Bowles at all,
that's real problematic.
That's problematic.
I mean, then you're getting like two guys into route combinations.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's going to be a lot of seven-man protection.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah. There are a lot of, as we saw, quick hitters. You know, I mean, get it out now. You know, quick game, screens, things like that.
Max protect works better against teams that play a lot of zone.
Mm-hmm.
If you're max protecting and they're a man team with safety help over the top, and you only send two guys out in pass patterns.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Good luck with that. And I'm not sure the Steelers are going to dial up a ton of blitzes either.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're seeing 6- and 7-man protections, yeah, you might bring a fifth more. You certainly will more than you did against Atlanta. And they have plenty of good guys to do it with, but they still may cause problems.
Yeah,
you may have a lot of guys in coverage.
I asked Terrell Austin about that today when he talked to the media, and I said, look, you guys only blitzed. I saw differing numbers on it. Next Gen Stats said 7.1%. Pro Football Reference had it at like 10%. Both were still among the lowest in the league this week. And I said, was that an Atlanta-specific thing, or is that something that you feel like is going to change? And I honestly do think it was an Atlanta thing because Cousins is a veteran quarterback.
Oh, he's good against blitz.
He's good against the blitz.
Yeah.
I don't know that Bo Nix is going to be a guy that you don't blitz.
Yeah, and the other difference between the two that actually favors Nix is he's much more mobile than Cousins. Yeah. Even Cousins' best day.
You knew where Cousins was going to be at, and you could just hem him in.
Yeah, and one of them's great above the neck because of the experience. The other one's a total rookie. And Nix is a really good runner. I mean, the best thing he did was run for a touchdown. Yeah. So I'm not saying you should spy Nix, but you don't want him running for 50 yards on you or being their leading rusher.
I don't know if he's that guy, though.
Oh, I don't know that he's that guy. But, I mean, he can hurt you. I guess I kind of exaggerated
He might move the
that.
chains a couple of times with his legs, but
I just remember that game 2 years ago when Herbert would just see an opening 8-yard slide.
That was like 4 years ago.
Maybe it was. I didn't see that. But I could see him being that type of guy.
Yeah.
But Herbert had a lot more around him. You were worried about Keenan Allen.
You had to be concerned about Mike Williams streaking down the sideline and Allen, that you had to double some of those guys. I don't know that you have that issue here.
No, I don't tend to think so either. It's just there's not a ton of ways they can hurt you on offense.
Yeah.
I mean, bad. I mean, give them the ball a lot. I mean, they'll, like anyone, they can do damage. And I do think Nix will be better this week. I mean, he's a tougher challenge, but I think him and Peyton will have a better feel for one another, what to call, what not to.
Even just
being in a stadium, film study for a week. First time you've ever prepped for an NFL game.
And Seattle was a completely new.
I'd say it's a hard place to play. I mean, it's a really hard place to play.
With a completely new coaching staff.
That too. I was thinking more of the venue, but right. You're at home, everyone's going to be cheering for you. But still. I don't know
if everyone will be cheering for him.
After performance number one.
We'll see how many Steeler fans make the trip to Denver here.
Oh, I thought you meant Denver fans were already turning on him.
Yeah, you heard DeShon Elliott earlier on the show talking about how, he couldn't believe they had the Atlanta has the football, and he's like, what's going on here?
Yeah. And Denver, as you mentioned, is a beautiful destination. It's a good time of year to go out there.
One of the few
see the
trips
mountains.
the Steelers make west this year.
If last minute time, you could probably still get out there, folks.
Yeah. Back-to-back home openers, though, for the Steelers will be playing teams in back-to-back home openers. So it'll be interesting to see how many Bronco fans, because they haven't had a lot of success in recent years. Haven't made the playoffs since 2015. That's the longest that a team coming off of a Super Bowl victory has done in league history. 8 years.
Which is amazing because I think, I'm almost certain, Manning did retire after he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a great player that year.
No.
I mean, he was great above the neck,
and they had a very good defense.
They still had Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware. I mean, the reason they got to the Super Bowl was still intact.
Right.
I mean, they had Demaryius Thomas, and I mean, they were a good football team. And not to go to the playoffs even 2 years after, the year after, not even make the playoffs is kind of odd.
Yeah, for the Broncos to have not made the playoffs since 2015, this is one of the proud franchises in the AFC.
Oh, yeah.
One of the premier franchises. Right. It also happens to coincide, though, a little bit pretty closely with Andy Reid kind of starting to take over that division.
I'm just thinking from a fan's perspective of getting seats. There was a lot more optimism around the Falcons 1 week ago than there is around Denver right now.
Absolutely. Atlanta sold out all their season tickets this year. I mean, they hadn't done that in several years.
They were aggressive and go get Cousins and Penix and a new coach and all this stuff.
I don't know that drafting Bo Nix suddenly caused the Bronco fans to go, hey, we're going to win it all.
Yeah, we'll watch them at home. Sell our ticket. Right. So get out there.
Absolutely. Matt, that's going to do it for the show today. So
another fun one.
Absolutely. For my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site, keeping us on the air, and for Tyler, getting us onto YouTube every day.
It's a new wrinkle, folks.
Making us look good here. I'm Dale Lolley. We appreciate you listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.